Hey everyone, let's start healing. I'm Adrianne Murchison, and welcome to the Let's Start Healing podcast. This is episode 123. We have more in common than we think, and what we have in common can change the world. I really wanted to come to you tonight because I've been feeling a little overwhelmed at the start of this week. And I've been feeling like, well, what I really want to do, which is podcast with you, is on the back burner. And then I thought, no, let me sit down and come to you and just share a few things. So often we put ourselves on the back burner when we have the demands of daily life. One of the aspects of this podcast that I really wanted to bring when I started it in 2019 is to one, let you know that you are not alone, and two, how important it is for you to fight for yourself, even if you're fighting with yourself. Sometimes I fight with me about me being important. Sometimes I think, oh, well, you know what? I've got to work, and work is taking up all of my bandwidth. And what I really want to do, my passion, which is this podcast, has to go on the back burner. Well, not today, folks. Not today. I really wanted to come to you and just talk, share some of the things that are on my heart, some of the things that I've been hearing in the last several days is about relationships and um, how we show up in relationships, what we want in relationships, whether it is with a romantic partner or whether it's a friend, whether it's with a job. And that's where, to me, it's important that we check in with ourselves and we really fight for and stand up for who we are and what we want, and know that we are love, and that you know that you are not alone. So often in my life, I have felt that I'm out here on my own, even though I have so many loved ones. I have so many family members and friends who really care about me. But when it's been all said and done, I might be over here by myself hurting about something. And that's when I have learned that I'm really not alone. I'm really not by myself. God is with me. And I mean that in the sense of, if it wasn't for God, I probably would have lost my mind a long time ago. Because when I really open up and I say, God, I'm hurting, or God, I don't know about this, or God, I don't know what to do, when I have that intimate conversation, I get a response and I get comfort. And that's all I'm trying to bring to you, is that you are not alone. And in many ways, I'm not built for a world that has to behave in a certain way, that has to adhere to rules in a very structured way. I'm made for a world where I can be me. And I think that that is very true for many of you. You want to just be you, and you want to know that you are accepted for who you are. And thankfully, I am so grateful that I do find that. The more I am determined to be who I am, the more that I am affirmed by the people that I love. So, what do I want to say to you today? I want to answer some of the questions that I ask my guests. One thing I ask is, how would I describe, or I say to them, how would I describe my knowing or perception of God? And my knowing is what I just shared. It is the responses that I get from God in so many different ways. It can be a filling up of my heart when I am praying and in meditation. I could be praying and in meditation, and I could just be saying the words, but after a certain amount of time, if I stay in that place, I start feeling the presence of God. I start feeling this energy that I know is not of me, but yet it's affirming me. So that is one way that I can describe my knowing of God. When do I most feel the presence of God? Wow, it could be what I just described. It could also be when I'm having a really, truly natural moment with someone else, when I'm just in a space of real love with someone else, then I feel this energy that I know is of God. And I know that God has a hand in creating this particular moment. What what do I think God calls me to do for myself and others through my work? Well, in my day job, I am a writer and a journalist, and I report on local government mostly. Oftentimes, I have an opportunity to write human interest stories, lifestyle stories. And in that work, I feel I'm called on to write something that speaks to the reader, that represents the reader, that is answering something in the reader's mind, in the reader's heart, or the reader's spirit. That is really important to me. It might sound trite, it might sound cliche, but connecting with people is so important to me. I really do believe that we are all one. We can see that when we see how we affect each other. We could see that through the pandemic. We made each other sick. We make each other sick all the time, which to me shows that we are connected. And if we can make each other sick, then we can make each other well. That's a utopia, but it is not impossible. It is not impossible. Tell me a time when I had a miracle or a blessing and said, God totally did that. I had nothing to do with it. Wow. That happens all the time for me. And I don't want to have a big pause in this conversation and thinking about it. But I will say that I recently met someone who is very special to me and could I say could, I believe, will turn out to be my lifelong partner. And the way that that came about, uh, I feel is completely God. I feel it's completely God. I put forth some initiative to meet someone to find a partner, and it turned out to be this wonderful man. But the actual happening of it, I feel was of God because I wasn't totally focused on it. But when we were connecting, I'd say this is before we actually met in person because we met online. And when that happened, when we were writing little notes to each other, I thought, yeah, okay. Let me just ask this other question. Yeah, okay. And then when we actually talked on the phone from hello, I was laughing from my gut. I was laughing from deep inside me, like this person was moving me from deep inside. And the thing is that I believe I was ready for this experience because prior to over the previous several months, I had been in a space with some friends who were really affirming who I am. I was really enjoying this connection with some really good friends. I was enjoying people seeing me for me. And I was being reminded of, yeah, I am me. Because I had these girlfriends who are wonderful people. And I see them and they see me. And we had been hanging out and staying in touch. And I was just in this really positive space. And I believe that positive space helped open me up to receive this wonderful new relationship. And I know that that is of God. I know that is of the universe. And that's not really my doing. The only thing that's been my doing is the willingness of it, being willing. And that's what I've been trying to say to God on so many days, is especially when I feel discouraged about something on a particular day. I don't know what's going to happen today. I don't want to do what I'm being called on to do. I have been checking that and just saying to God, I am open. I'm willing for whatever miracles and blessings you want to bring my way, Lord. And I am allowing the space for that to happen. Even knowing that I might have some trepidation, I just try to be open, willing, and allow. And then God handles it. Not that I don't feel agita about it, but that's enough to let God handle it. And so I think that the final thing that I want to bring to you along these lines is something from my favorite book, because relationships have been coming across my path, like relationship content, whether it's something I come across on YouTube, or it's something that someone sends to me, and it has me coming to an excerpt from my favorite book, my book of faith, A Course in Miracles. And there is a section called Fear of Redemption that to me equates to fear of love, and how love, like a vampire, cannot enter where it's not welcome. I find that to be so true, because in my past, I could be filled with an abundance of love for someone else. But if it's not welcome, it's not received. So there we have that. So what this excerpt is saying, it's just a little paragraph, is saying that we can be afraid of love because we don't make it. Yeah, we make love when we get together in a physical sense. We make love. But love ultimately is of God. It's of God. We are love because God created us, but we don't make love. We did not create ourselves. God is love and God created us. And what we created is the opposite of love, which is hate. We created suspicion and ego. That's what we created. So, and this book says that the ego is really insanity. And it says you can accept insanity because you made it, but you cannot accept love because you did not. You would rather be a slave of the crucifixion of your brother, who is the Son of God, that brother in redemption. You would rather be a slave of him or her. Your individual death seems more valuable than your living oneness. For what is given you is not so dear as what you made. What is given you, love, is not so dear as what you made. Hate, or the ego, or suspicion. You are more afraid of God than of the ego. And love cannot enter where it is not welcome. But hatred can, for it enters of its own volition and cares not for yours. I find that so deep. I could go on and on with this chapter that took me well over a year to understand, and I'm not going to do that now. But I find that to be so deep. Love cannot enter where it is not welcome. We are love, and the first thing we need to do is to recognize that love within ourselves. I think that we have a tendency to not see that in ourselves. I have had a tendency to not welcome and accept that in myself, even though I know that I am of love. I know I'm my mother's daughter. I know I have my mother's heart, and my mother was all love. So that is a saving grace for me. But there are many times that I resist accepting the love within myself. One of the things that I'm so grateful for in this new man in my life is that he sees me no matter what, no matter what's to come. This person sees me. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. That's the biggest gift that we can give to anyone, whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a coworker, is to see them, is to see them. That is taking me back to one of the questions that I like to ask my guests, which is, what is their superpower? And one of the things that I like to say is that I see people. I do see, in many cases, the essence of the person. I love seeing the essence of a person. And so when I recognize that somebody sees that in me, it just really fills me with gratitude. And one of the things that I recognize in you, again, going back to an inspiration for this podcast, is that I recognize that you are love. You are a child of God, just like me and everyone you see around you. You are not alone, no matter what you're going through. No matter what you're going through, you are not alone. Let's start healing.